before we play the chords, I do want to say that we do hold the pick a little differently for strumming than we do for single note picking. So when you're strumming, you are not going to rest your wrist on the bridge here. You're just going to have it free. And it's not uncommon to hold the pick a little further back so you're not choking up as much on it. Then when you go to single note picking, you tend to choke up a little bit more and then go back to this. That becomes natural, switching between those two techniques as you continue to play and practice. Okay, so you'll keep your hand free for these chords and chord changes. All right, let's learn the 4 new chords. The first chord we'll cover is, we'll just go in alphabetical order. So Cmaj7 has this lovely sound. It's often used in jazz music, the major 7 chord. So if you play a regular C major and you lift off that first finger to play the second string open, I'm just going to move my finger out of the way. There it is. So instead of first finger on the second string for the C major, Cmaj7 is going to have the first finger off. Now, Cmaj7 is a different chord than C7. Those are not the same. C7, which is in your book, has the 4th finger on the 3rd string, 3rd fret. Very different sound than Cmaj7. Okay, so we have C, C7, Cmaj7. There's also such thing as a C minor 7, and lots of others. For now, we're going to stick with that Cmaj7. Okay, make sure that you do it with 2nd and 3rd finger. I know you may be tempted to do 1 and 2, but that's going to make it harder when we start to play songs, because you're often going to come from a C to a Cmaj7. You just lift off that first finger. So don't learn it with 1 and 2. Do it as the chart that I uploaded shows with 2 and 3. Okay? Pretty easy chord. Next, we're going to go to the D minor 7. Okay, this is not in your book. This is different than D minor and different than D7. It's called D minor 7. And it has what's called a bar. Okay, that's when we are laying one finger, usually it's the first finger, across 2 or more strings, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. A full bar means 6 strings, okay? We're going to just start with this little bar across 2 strings, the 1st and 2nd strings, in the 1st fret. Then we add that 2nd finger to the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and we also play the 4th string open. That's a D minor 7 chord. Now my guess is that at first your chord may sound like this. And there is a trick to getting both of those strings to ring, and it's going to seem weird, but you're going to have to trust me on this, and that is to play on the side of the finger. It really is the best way to do it. So instead of trying to play straight on like you're normally used to doing, you're going to turn and play on the outside edge of that first finger and then put that 2nd finger down. So I'm playing, if you can see it this way, sideways on that first finger, and then I'm going to get a nice clear sound. Notice also that I have my finger right up against the fret wire, not on top of it, because then I'll get that sound, but just to the left of that fret wire. Remember, I don't have to press as hard. Okay, you do want to use your thumb to squeeze. That's how you're going to get leverage. So that's what your D minor 7 should sound like. All that being said, it's still going to take you a couple weeks to master this chord. It's just a tricky chord because of that bar. Okay, then we've got the E7, back to an easy chord. So this one is in the back of your book, and if we play regular E major and we lift off the 3rd finger, so we have the 4th string open, that 4th string now should be open, then that's our E7. We'll strum all 6 strings. Make sure you can hear that fourth string open. If we're not careful, we can block it with the underside of this second finger. Then when you strum it, it's just going to sound like an E. So we want to hear, that is the 7th note of an E scale. It's a D, and that's why we call it an E7 chord. It's an E chord with the added 7th note of the D scale. Memorize that one as well. And then we have one more, and we go back to this idea of the bar, and this is the F chord. This will be the hardest chord you learn in this beginning guitar class. It's just a bit of a bear, and so you've got to stick with it, work on it every day. It takes most people about a month to start to get comfortable with the F chord, but if you just spend a few minutes a day on it, be patient with yourself, you will get it eventually. And when you do, that's a bit of a rite of passage as a guitar player. Everyone remembers when they did their first F chord, when they finally got it. Okay, so here's what it looks like. We're going to have the same bar that we did with the Dm7 on first and second string. So play again on the side of that first finger. It makes it much easier, right up against the fret wire. Then you put your second finger, just like we did for the Dm7. Now the only difference is that we're going to add the third finger to the 4th string, 3rd fret. We are strumming only 4 strings because we have X's over the 6th and 5th strings. So that's what your F should sound like. Probably it's going to sound at first. So remember, play on the side of that finger. If you look down at the top, it's totally sideways on that outside edge. You can see where those marks are from my finger. You see that? That's normal when you're playing an F. If I just rub that right there, when I play an F, you can see those lines there on my finger. That's where you should be pressing, not on the surface, because you're not going to be able to get the angle right. Unless you can do that with your finger, some people can. To me, where you bend it back like that, to me that's really uncomfortable. I don't like that. But if you can do that and that's comfortable and still get a sound, that's okay also. My experience as a teacher is that most people, once they get this is more comfortable for them. But either way could theoretically work. So there it is. The chords to practice during the week. First of all, learn and memorize all 4 of those chords. But then the common ones to practice, definitely you should do F to C back and forth. 4 strums each or 2 strums each. But that's a very common chord change in many, many songs, F to C or C to F back and forth. You can also practice the A minor to the Dm7. That's very common. You may also practice the, I would say the F to the Cmaj7. And then I would say the A to the E7. You could do 4 strums, however you want to do it. E7. Remember, no 3rd finger. Back to A. All of those are going to be very common in many, many songs. The more you practice them, the more you'll be prepared for their coming up in actual songs. Okay. That's it for this one.